Long ago, in a forgotten village of a distant land, lived three inseparable friends, Ahmed, Shahid, and Qasim. Their friendship was the talk of the village, like the three branches of a tree, separate yet connected at the root. Since childhood, they had laughed together, played together, and stood by each other through thick and thin. But life, as it often does, turned harsh. The doors to their livelihoods began to close. Poverty tightened its grip like a storm swallowing a fragile bird. Hunger gnawed at them, and desperation knocked at their doors. The once lively home of laughter was now covered in a blanket of worry. One day, with heavy hearts and empty stomachs, the three friends decided to leave the village. Staying meant starvation. With what little savings they had, they packed a few clothes, some dry rations, and set out with hope in their hearts and dreams in their eyes. Behind them lay their beloved homeland, ahead, an unknown future. After hours of walking, they found themselves in a desolate land, surrounded by forests, eerie silence, and haunting solitude. The sun dipped behind the horizon, the sky turned dark, and a cold breeze carried the weight of their fatigue. They sat under a large tree. Ahmed spread out a blanket, Shahid pulled out a small water bag, and Qasim broke a dry piece of bread and shared it with the others. Breaking the silence, Qasim sighed. Did we make the right decision by leaving the village? Ahmed looked up at the emerging stars and softly replied, when a boat is caught in a storm, it must find shore, even if it's far. Staying back would have drowned us. Shahid nodded, removed his shoes, and laid down. Whatever comes, we face it together. And under the vast sky, the three friends closed their eyes, trying to rest in the cold and silence of the unknown night. Suddenly, in the middle of the night, a mysterious sound shook them awake. Ahmed whispered, "That doesn't sound safe." The rustling of grass followed, and out from the shadows, a wild wolf charged at them. Ahmed screamed, and the three bolted, hearts pounding, feet flying, fear racing through their veins. The wolf chased them with growls that echoed in the stillness. Running wildly, they spotted the distant light. "Look, fire!" Ahmed shouted. They sprinted toward it. A small house stood ahead, flames flickering outside. The wolf had retreated. Respecting privacy, they didn't knock. Instead, they sat by the fire and waited for morning. At dawn, the silence faded with the call to prayer. Birds chirped, light spread. Just then, the door creaked open, and an old woman appeared. She was startled to see them but didn't show fear. "Who are you sons?" she asked softly. Seeing their condition, the kind old woman smiled and said, "Come in, rest. You must be tired and hungry." The friends accepted. Inside, she offered food and warmth. Learning they had come in search of work, she said, "My 5 cows are lost in the forest. If you help bring them back, I will reward you well." Ahmed replied respectfully, "We'll do our best, mother." The old woman placed her hands over their heads and prayed for them. The three friends entered the forest, aware of the dangers but determined. By evening, after a long search, they returned with all 5 cows. The woman's joy was boundless. Tears welled up in her eyes. "You must stay the night. Wild beasts lurk after dark," she insisted. They agreed. The next morning, as they prepared to leave, Ahmed asked, "Mother, do you have no family?" She smiled. "I have 2 sons and a daughter in the city. They've gone to visit their sister. I await their return." Then she handed them a small pouch. "This is a gift. Inside is more wealth than you expect. Gold coins for each cow," she said. Ahmed peeked inside and was stunned but replied, "We came for work, not to take advantage of your kindness. Please keep this." But she insisted, touched by their honesty. They left her home, not as job seekers now, but with enough gold to return home. Their hearts were light, their faces glowing with joy. But on the way, something changed. The gleam of gold began to corrupt their thoughts. Where once there was selfless friendship, now greed began to stir. Soon, hunger struck. They decided to send Qasim to the nearby market to buy food. While he was away, Ahmed and Shahid sat beneath the tree. Silence lingered until Ahmed whispered, "What if Qasim doesn't return? Then the gold will be ours." Shahid nodded slowly. A silent agreement passed between them. they would kill Qasim when he returned. But Qasim, too, was not immune to greed. On his way to the market, a dark thought crossed his mind. What if I poison the food? Then the gold will be mine. Smiling wickedly, he bought poison. But as he prepared to carry out his plan, a pang of guilt struck him. This gold is a test, he thought. If I betray them, I won't escape punishment. He threw away the poison and returned with food, a clean conscience guiding his steps. Back under the tree, Ahmed and Shahid, too, wrestled with their guilt. Memories of childhood flooded their minds, their laughter, shared hardships, their bond. They couldn't go through with it. By the time Qasim returned, all three had changed their minds. They shared the food peacefully, not mentioning what had just transpired in their hearts. There was a silent forgiveness between them. As they journeyed home, they chose to camp for the night near a cave. The night was cold and distant howls of wolves echoed through the hills. Inside the cave, they lay down exhausted. But in the middle of the night, a storm broke out. Torrential rain, roaring winds, and suddenly, a massive boulder rolled down from the mountain, sealing the cave's entrance. Morning came. Ahmed woke first and saw darkness all around. He walked to the entrance and was shocked to find the exit completely blocked. He shook Shahid awake, and the two tried desperately to move the boulder. It wouldn't budge. They called Qasim, and together they pushed with all their strength, their hands bleeding, their bodies trembling. Finally, after immense struggle, the boulder shifted and light poured in. They stepped outside, breathing deeply, tears in their eyes. They had been saved from a terrible fate. Walking again, each lost in thought, Ahmed realized, if we had killed Qasim, we could never have moved that rock and would have died inside. Qasim thought, if I had poisoned them, I would have died alone in that cave. Later, they confessed everything to one another, their dark intentions, the guilt, and their change of heart. They forgave each other with sincerity and returned to the village, where they divided the gold honestly. Now their bond was stronger than ever. They had learned that no wealth is worth more than true friendship. And so they lived not just as friends, but as brothers for life.